click share. I don't know how long it takes.
I can see it.
I can see it.
All right,
I could see it.
All right. So market profile, as many of you know, right? I use it a lot, right? I use it in conjunction with volume, and that's not a coincidence, right? Market needs three components, right? Needs price, needs volume, and time. All those combined, as you guys know, makes up the value of something such as ES or equities, right? You can use this on anything that you wish to buy or trade, right? It doesn't have to be futures. It has to be just a product that has those three components, and I would say majority of them have, unless you're looking at SPX, right? Then you won't be able to use some of this. So to start, what is market profile? Market profile is just a representation, a graphical representation of where has price been, right? And a lot of people get confused with these boxes and letters. The way I would think about it, if I was to explain it to my 8-year-old, is each one of these boxes represents that price was there within the 30 minutes, right? Every letter carries 30 minutes interval, right? So if I zoom in here, letter A means, the whole letter A is 30 minutes. Then the letter B is 30 minutes. And so on. And we go to letter M, which is the last period, which is 3:30 till 4 p.m. And then TradingView has, called M period here, which is basically 4 to 4:15. And then the settle price of that day is marked with the close in the M period, which would be somewhere around here for Thursday. And then on Friday, we had a little bit of a fun day, right? We had liquidation. And you see that we closed, we opened pretty high. We closed at the lows right here. So far, so good. Is everybody following if you're new?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
each letter representing this. So when you expand this, right, it's equivalent to you looking at 30-minute candles. If I was to turn these on, you will see that these are 30-minute candles, and you can't even see them right now. If I maybe change the order. You see the candles now represented here. For each one of these letters that you're seeing, there's a candle there. Right, so don't let the letters confuse you. It just tells you the B period overlapped A period and the price between, let's say, 617 and this level right here. So let's say 612. So B period was only traded between 617 and 612. Okay. If this period traded, let's say, to this level here, 6127, then the B period low boxes would have been all the way up to here. So when you look at it, it's just basically telling you where do we trade, how much time do we spend at that price. If you went up here, and let's say the C period was here, then C period would have been here, and you had 3 TPOs, okay? Why is this important? Well, it's important to determine first the framing, right? Are we putting lower lows? Are we putting higher lows or lower highs? Higher lows, what's happening, right? So for instance, when you look at this Friday, when we sold off, right? We had the A period, right? We opened pretty high. Excuse me. And then the B period extended, right? And then they accumulated a little bit, which a lot of people thought, well, this looks like we're gonna, what we've been doing lately is a V shape. But did the market give you any indication in terms of framing that we're gonna go higher? I'd rather have this collaborative session, like where we all collaborate and help each other and answer. So what that means is that A period, high and low are here. B periods here. Did the C period make higher highs?
No.
No. D period made higher highs and higher lows, but did it really go far?
No.
Not far enough.
No. Is this something that, when you see A period and you see a pretty good sell sign, right? And considering where we were the day before, we covered it in the watch list that, losing that value area high here was pretty pivotal for them. That most likely they're going to test that low, which they did. They broke the PDL, right, between the 2 days. And then you see that they basically accumulated below it, but did anyone encroach, let's say, the 50% of that B period? So what I like to do is I like to look at the 50% of these periods and see, do they encroach above it? If they encroach above it and they find value above the 50% of this, there's a high chance you might have like a, call it D shape or a typical day. And maybe once they crack this half and they build value above it. If they would have built value here, well, maybe we would have had something like up again here, and then we trade and accept this value, which was the prior day here. Does that make sense, what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. But they didn't. And whenever they don't frame up, especially like in this case, when you have a pretty good A selling down, so your initial balance is set, right? Your initial balance is your first A and B period, right? And you guys see this little black line here. I don't know if there's a way to change it. Not yet. I asked them to add different colors, right? So if you look at this black line, this is just A and B period. So what time is that? From what to what?
9:30 to 10:30.
Yeah, so this is called initial balance, right? So if you think about this, a lot of traders pay attention to this here because that's called the IB. You guys will hear me say the IB is set a lot of times, right? And that means the initial balance is set. When the initial balance is set, there's only a handful of people that can move that initial balance. And does anyone know who they are?
Big
Other
boys.
time
Market
participants.
makers.
It would be other time frame participants. And for newer folks, you have short-term traders, which is like me and you. Then you have swing traders. Then I would say swing midterm traders are considered other time frame participants. And then you have, monthlies, and then you have institutional traders, right? That come in with size, and you can kind of point them out by the selling tails or buying tails. So if you look at it, they extended the C period on the B, right? We made a lower low, and then we never really encroached or challenged that B period. So your bias had to be bearish here. I asked you guys this question on Friday just to see how you guys think about it, right? But your first sign, for instance, when you look at the context of this market for the bias was where? And we shorted this live. Where was your bias for short on Friday?
It failed to
Um,
take out the value area high of Thursday.
So
And it
100%
went down.
it. And that's where I was looking for short. Like I was short here, and then the 80% rule played out pretty nicely. And we covered that in the watch list that if they lose this, that's highly probable. Now, this is just a tip, but why is that most likely to happen in a lowercase b shape?
Small IB, as far as small value.
Small value, right? I mean, you don't have to really explore a lot. I mean, it's not like it's wide. When you have a lowercase b, I mean, you're talking about, 20 points value. They can explore that pretty quickly, and they did, right? So we opened above it, but we lost that, and then we went to value area low. If you guys remember, we have 4 opening types that I care for when it comes to value area. What was this one?
Open test drive.
Open above
Keep going.
value area, but
Reject
within
reverse.
range.
Open above the value and within the range. Do you guys remember what we talked about? So if this was the range high, right? This was your PDH. This was your PDH. And you opened above the value, but within the range. And you guys know that's not my favorite date, but it's the most likely to play out the 80%. And that's what it says in the PowerPoint, right? So if you guys look at this, once they lost this right here, we opened above it. We lost this. How much time did we become challenging that we want to go back inside? Typically, you will see them immediately kind of stop and, hey, we want to go up. Do they spend a lot of time arguing that value is higher?
Not at all.
Not at all, guys. They're pretty determined that this is going lower. So my bias was bearish pretty much all day. Did I take small tabs of longs for like 4 or 5 points and get out? Yeah. That's mainly because I'm trading live sometimes with you guys and I'm bored. Typically, if I'm happy and done and I log off, I don't really take another trade. But when I'm trading live and I'm showing and I see a good setup and I'm like, okay, well, might as well just get it for a couple of points if it's a counter trend trade. But this was a pretty good one, right? So you had the framing happening in this accumulation that we had here. They didn't really build much value. I mean, they built value here, and for our retail folks, right, I would say they did what? They created a little bear flag, right? So they're probably screaming here. If you think about it, it's like, oh my God, this is a bear flag. Here's a break, and then more people get in. And then you see, where are we framing up? Are we framing up anywhere here? You have G period framing down, lower high, lower low. Then you have, let me just hide it. Then you have H doing the same. And then what are you noticing between H and I?
Slowing down.
It's slowing down, but it's not reversing yet. There's a difference, right? Auction can slow down until we get new set of sellers, right? And they're slowing down, and then the J period came in, right? The 2 o'clock, and they extended it all the way down. Then you see how tight the value got here. And was there any signs that you guys could have used if this played out differently for a spike? And we'll go over the spike, but what needed to happen to increase the probabilities of a spike here?
More excess low.
L period goes lower than every other value.
That's correct. The L period has to go lower than any other value. And this is your L period. That's your 3 to 330. And that one did not make lower lows, actually made higher lows and equal highs. So typically that means it's going to be a little choppy close. And what do we get? We got pretty choppy close, right? Look at the close. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? And we close right in the middle of that value. And spike would have happened, right? So let's talk about the spike. So far we covered the concepts of each letter, what each letter stands for, the framing of it, right? We covered the initial base, and now we're going to cover what the spike would have meant.
Hey, Shorty, before the spike, can you go over framing up and down?
Yeah. So when you're framing down, you're making lower lows. Lower lows means, so if you think about, how it goes, it's like this. These lows are constantly putting in new lows and cleaning. As soon as this happens and you're putting this, and then you take out the highs, that means now you're framing up on the period. This would be your change of character here. This is just a break of structure, we call it. Means
So
you're continuing in the trend that you're going.
So Shorty, so going back to the morning of Friday, right? Do you see A and B is going down? So based on what you just said, would you wait for D to reclaim B's high to say that you're ready to go back up? At
That's
what point
correct.
would you say that you'd go back up?
If any of these periods, if C recovered, let's say C period, if this C period came in here and didn't lose, let's say A low, and it was like building value here, that's a pretty good sign that they're rejecting the price lower.
Okay, gotcha.
I want to see them take out this and then not lose 113. So they would need to build value here and eventually go higher. But any rejection here is pretty bearish, right? Because that's telling you this seller here is not really interested in any prices higher. And considering we had at this point, you had a selling tail in the A period, there's something special about it, right? Whenever you have a selling tail in A or B period, those usually stand, meaning they hold for the remainder of the day. I think it's 77-ish or 78% of the time they hold.
Okay, so let's say that C period went up above B period and it stayed above 113. At what point would you wait for the D period to start to initiate a long, or what is your process, your thinking? I'm trying to understand how you.
So I typically trade on 5 minutes, right? So if the C period, if I wait for the whole 30 minutes, sometimes I might miss the entry as well. So if they did this right here, and let's say on footprints, they showed me an imbalance here to the upside when they're breaking this upside balance. And I'll be like, okay, well, these people are pretty eager and they're aggressive to push the price higher. And if they are able to crack the 617, then they give me a somewhat retest here if it's imbalance or an HVN, whatever they build on volume in that period. Like on this run here, I will look for that retest to drive it to the high of the day.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that would be the idea.
Hey, quick question, Shorty.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, your opening range thing is just based off of the A and B session of the day.
That's initial balance, correct? That's just initial balance. Yep.
Okay. Second question is so basically, could you use like TPO to chart like everything like value area high, and are there only like certain parts of
No, you can chart it. Look, I mean, there's value area high. I used this actually on Friday, right? So
Mhm.
here's your value area high of Thursday. Here's your value area low of, of Thursday as well. And I rely more on value areas, I would say, of volume profile rather than TPOs, and
Mhm.
especially volume profile POC.
Mhm.
I care about that one a lot more than I care about TPOC POC. Hopefully everybody's clear that that's just my preference. That
Okay.
doesn't
Thank
mean
you.
that you should not care about this POC. You guys will see me mark it as well. But I would just encourage you guys to look at both and see if there's any discrepancies, right? Is there any discrepancies in this profile between the two? Between
Yes.
TPO and POC. Okay, do you want to analyze it?
Well, the majority of the volume was up top, but they didn't spend much time up there, right?
Okay. So what does that tell you? If you want to try, I mean, it doesn't mean you're wrong, whatever you say, but how would you how would you understand that in terms of market? You're a trader. What is it telling you?
It's like strong selling.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I would say.
Okay. So if it's strong selling and you have access in a period on Thursday and you're not able to reclaim that access, do you get the message?
We're not going back
Yeah.
up.
Who's in control?
Sellers.
Sellers.
The seller was in control of that 6140 level right here. Right, and that was our, I believe, level that we talked about that we want to see regained. I deleted everything, but I can go back to the class on whatever we had Thursday night. But remember, it was like 40 to 45 that we had the level. It was something like this. Hopefully, I'm not making shit up, but I remember it being somewhere like 45 was the zone that we were watching because that was the high from this balance that we had 2 days, and the bulls really wanted to be above this zone because that would mean you're rejecting prices lower and you want to trade up here, right? Which would also mean that you're going for all-time high. Everybody
So,
following so far?
yeah, can I bring something up and ask something? Okay, so yeah, we're used to like trading a lot on 5 minutes, and on 5 minutes your POC is up top like you're showing there. But usually when I'm marking my daily values from previous day POC is showing mine on 30-minute
That's
right
perfectly aligned.
right there. Yeah.
No, it's perfectly aligned. No, I know, but I just wanted to bring up the discrepancy that you had here. So if you look here, right, what happened here is very important for end of the day as well. So if you just looked at this data, if you grab from bottom to here, the volume is at the top. And from here, what did the market do the next day?
Sold off.
Sold off. And I gave you guys on Thursday, I gave you a really good explanation that they dragged this up probably to trap the bulls. If they really wanted, so think about the market auction and confidence. If these bulls were serious, what should have happened on Thursday? Look at that. I'm just giving you, I'll give you
Traded
from
up.
here.
You should have continued framing.
Give me this breakdown here. Give me the analysis, what you should have seen on Thursday to believe it.
We were trading in a balance, and then we framed up, and
But
we
what
should have.
level should you have they reclaimed to tell you that these bulls were serious?
That
Wednesday's
value
value
area
area low.
high. And yeah, I would say Wednesday's value area high and Thursday's value area low area.
Yeah, I mean, you have this right here, right? So that would be your value area low where you rejected this. Market said we do not want to trade in this area here. We're not interested, right? We were here and we sold off. So now if these bulls were serious as they seemed from these, I would say this was a trap on, on the bear side here. And then they trapped the bulls here as well. I mean, there's a trap, clear trap on the bulls. Does anyone see it on Friday? Where's the trap?
The single prints.
No. What candle is the trap candle?
The blue candle, the shooter.
It would be this candle here. The blue candle is like, oh shit, we're reversing. We have a what? A hammer. And people are like, oh my God, this is bullish. We made higher lows. Now this candle, what does it do? Well, it broke that previous candle high, right? It did that right here. It broke it, right? So now people are like, oh my God, we're going higher. What does that candle do? It just puts in equal highs to the prior hammer they had. And what did they do? They sold off, which is telling you, right? What Sith was talking about. If you look at this, where did they reject?
POC.
So in the volume profile, there was a slide that I asked you guys to print it out. It said value area, tips and tricks, bullet, I believe 4 or 3. Says something about this. What is it?
If price opens above value area and falls back inside, it's an extremely bearish sentiment.
That's exactly right. So, we went bearish here. They came back here. They went below. They came back, rejected the fairest price of yesterday. And of course, they went to the value area low. And then you look what happened here. If this is our value area low, right? And we had the 50% here of this B. Let's just draw it out so you guys at least understand how, because I told you guys the 93 was coming, I think early in the day. I don't know when I mentioned it, but I told you guys 93 was incoming. And then we had, I believe, I know at one point we had 63 and I think it was 88, which was a weekly point of control. It was a virgin POC on a weekly. Let me make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, it was, 88 was the virgin POC, and then you guys can see where they tried to bounce, right? They bounced this, and once they lost it, I'm skipping a little bit from market profile. What was the next level that we were targeting? You're in a 3-week, 4-week balance. You guys remember that? Didn't we draw something like this at one point?
Is that the
Was-
period value area low?
Yeah, wasn't it like a 5-week? We said 4+ week. Sig 1 was in this level. I think it was actually higher at this time. Maybe this brought it down or something, but I had a little bit higher. And you see here, right? We talked about this on Thursday. You guys remember the 108 level? Does anyone remember? When we talked about the 5-week, it was 108. If we lose that, I think I even wrote to one of you personally because you're sending me messages every day with what you're gonna play, and you wrote something similar but slightly different, and I corrected you. That it was the 108. Once you lose that, because we had the 113 single prints that we could not get over before. If you guys remember 113.75, at one point we're single prints all the way to 24.75. Do you guys remember these levels, or am I just? So here's your single prints from, I think it was Thursday right here. It was 13.75. Do you guys remember this? And then you had 24.75 single prints, which were here. And remember what the message was. If they can hold this and accept the prices higher here, that'd be really good for them. And what did they do? They went encroached inside, right? They came close to this POC. They went up. They got rejected out of this value, right? And now, a massive sell below 14. It's telling you that they're not interested in trading here. That this interest here is not getting any new buyers right here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And remember, you can do this after the fact, but you have to have the ability to read the market as it's developing. And that's what's going to make you, take a step forward, is to realize what is market giving you in terms of information. Okay, so
Shorty, quick question. At what point, since the C, D, and I think E period, I wasn't around last week with trading, but just looking at that, since it didn't trade up under the IB and it reclaimed it, at what point would you consider that more of a recovery versus what you explained earlier?
The only way I would have, so what Erica's talking about, that we had the IB set here. So the black line is our initial balance of the first hour. And she's saying that we set the initial balance. We went below it in C period. So C period had an extension. That's what they're called, right? But then they recovered the D period, and the E period recovered as well. And then the F period, opened lower, as well as, it cleared it. The only way I would have recovered this is what I explained earlier to Texas Raj, right? Is if they would have been here, right? If they come here and you have these massive tails and extensions between two periods, typically if you have this much overlap between the 2 days, if it's up or down between A and B period, what do you think it leads to?
And day.
Profile.
Most likely a trend day, or it could be a double distribution trend day. Okay. They could come and accumulate here, sell off, accumulate again like they did now. So for me, they really had to crack this, and then I would say most likely we would have cleared this high here and probably visited the single prints all the way to 40 if they did that. So I can be late to the game, but I could still catch these points, right? To here at least. Like even if you go a little bit less to 27, that would be doable. Right? So 10 points here, or if I go early long and then you catch one of these knives, because this was definitely looking like a trend day right out of the gate. You know, they sold off, rejected the value area higher, and it's not like on this day, there was only, remember I said there was only one bullish thing that they were holding on this day, and what was that? I said there's only one thing that's working in their favor. What was that on this look? I even brought up the volume profile class and I showed you something that was highlighted.
The little flip zone.
Do you guys remember when I drew this?
I remember, but I can't remember exactly. It's slipping my tongue.
The half
The close was above 50% of a B.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you had the halfback, which is your midpoint. You know, you can draw 50% or just use the midpoint. We closed above the half point of a lowercase b profile. Now just think logically, right? You're selling off. You have a, you know, typically when you have a B profile like this, that's a pretty good B actually. That's the best B I drew ever. When you have a B like this, what does it tell you on the top section about price? Like here.
Reject.
They're not interested. That's why we flew down. And then you accumulate here, and typically there's two things that happen on the bottom, right? In that HVN or fat belly, is that you have people taking profits, right? Here, or it's just basically sell-off pressure, and we're closing inside here. When you get something like this and you close above it, it's not a normal behavior to see us close on a liquidation profile above 50%. That's not something that you see normally. Statistically, you won't see that. And how can you check? Well, just go look at this profile. We opened here. Where do we close? Low of the day. Let's see another B. If we can find them. Okay, here's another B. Where do we close?
And HVN.
So I just found 2, 3 of them, and they all close. Now here's another one. So 4, and they all closed below the 50%. They all closed relatively at the low end of the profile. And you're telling me here on the recent one, remember I said that's the only thing that's bullish, but we got to watch because there was some stacked levels in that area. So if you look at this now, right? This was our halfback. It's not like you closed at the high of the day. You closed barely above the value and barely above the halfback. So losing this level indicated that most likely this was a fluke here, what they did towards the end of the day where they recovered. Because I think at this point, let me see, I think the M period was the highest period next to A. Yeah. So you're saying the last period of the day, remember we talked about can they do a spike? And we were like, man, there's a high chance they could if they're crazy. But, you know, they were not able to push that all the way back up. And they closed relatively close. Once they lost this, guys, it was pretty clear that they're faking the bulls on this profile. And most likely tomorrow, what do you guys expect? Most likely is 90% probability that we're going to be red. You have 67% chance from statistics standpoint. Whenever you have a red Friday, then Monday is going to be lower. It's about 67% of the time in 2024. Do you guys like the odds of 67% being right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and think about 50 is golden. If you don't believe me, go to casino and see if you have any odds of 1/10 of a point that are in your favor in casino. They're gonna laugh at you. There's only one game.
Roulette.
Yep. So now, go ahead. Somebody have a question
Yeah, a quick question, Shorty. So
about casino or this?
the opening range thing. So like your opener, you as a trader yourself, you think about the opening range the first 30 minutes. I thought that the IB in range was set from like 10 to 10:30 because there's like another IB indicator. So like you just completely negate that, like you don't even consider that the real IB.
There's two things, right? Let's make sure we're squared away. So you have the opening range, which is your orbs. They use 30 minutes. You will have orb high plus orb low. That's your 30 minutes. And we have that strategy that people trade in this Discord, right? So you have the 30-minute high and low. That's your A period only. Market profile uses A plus B period, which is your first 1 hour of cash open. So that would be your 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Okay.
Initial
So-
balance, Shorty.
That's correct. Did I use? Yeah.
Yeah, you put market profile, just maybe
Yeah.
confuse people.
Yeah. So there you go. So market
Mm.
profile uses initial balance, right? When you look at the sentiment, I'll just touch base on what the orbs do. So way back on the floor, if you guys think about it, when it wasn't all automated and you didn't have all these, central settling processes, right? You guys had to have like a little yellow slip, right, on the floor, and you had to raise your hand and you had to put the orders in, right? And all the big clients, right, when they want to buy something, they call that floor trader and they're like, man, buy me 500 ES. What do you think that floor trader does? Do you think his excitement is like, okay, man, I got you $500, 500 contracts, no big deal, quietly? Do you think his body language doesn't have any expressions?
He's probably trying to contain it, but there's probably a lot of excitement.
It's pandemonium.
Psychology of a human. You can tell when somebody's lying through body language. They can lie, through their mouth, but their body language doesn't lie. So the traders and on the floor, they would use the sentiment of the opening range of 30 minutes to gauge what is the interest one way or another. Are they bullish? Are they excited? If you see somebody pulling their hair in a corner and he just put a buy order and he's pulling his hair, what do you think is happening?
He's losing on his position.
Yeah, or he got in the wrong trade, right? And then if you see one pit, let's say corn, is getting a lot of traction. Everybody's going to the corn pit. Everybody left the equity pit. What do you think is happening with volume? Where's volume going?
Corn's going up.
Corn. So do you want to trade ES at that point?
I'm going to trade corn.
You go with the volume, right? So those pit traders use opening range of 30 minutes to gauge the sentiment of people, their excitement, their madness, hair pulling. I wouldn't have any to pull, but they use those signs to set the opening range, right? Some people use opening minute 15 minutes, right? There's no strict rule what you can use with orbs, right? Some people use 5 minutes. 30 minutes is probably better because the news come in between 9:30 and 10. As you guys trade, you see that everything's between 8:30 and 10. You let the news settle between 8:30 till cash session, then there's typically some news till 10 o'clock or right at 10. And that, creates a little bit of volatility, right? And that's why we use opening range. Don't confuse opening range of 30 minutes with market profile. They're two separate things. One leads into another. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we covered. Is anyone confused about the letters? I think that's really important for you guys not to be stressed out. Like, oh my God, all these boxes, letters, I'm confused. What does it mean?
I think what confuses me is like the how many TPOs and a pour high and a pour low. Is it like one single row of the stuff? That's where I get.
Yeah. Let me give you guys. I'll draw it all out right now. You guys can follow along. Oh, let's just find examples. It might be easier, right? Okay, first one here I'm on 2, so don't count this towards the analysis for tonight. I'm on 4 ticks per row to illustrate this. So whenever you have, let's say on the bottom, right? So you have the bottom of the profile, of course, as the top, right? When you have single prints on top, single prints means you have one TPO period on top, or a buying tail, or excess low, or unfair low, maybe 3 different names. So like this one here, you see how you have TPO, A period has no friend next to it. There's no B, there's no C, it's lonely by itself. When it's lonely by itself on the bottom, what do we call that?
Excellent.
Buying tail.
Buying tail.
Poor low.
Not poor low. Okay, so this is your buying tail, excess low, or unfair low. So does everybody understand why it's called buying tail? Let's explain each one of these so you guys don't ever get confused on this. What would be the definition for buying tail for you guys?
Responsive buyers stepping in.
Say it again.
Responsive buyers stepping in.
Buyers always step in. I mean, for you to sell me a share of something, a buyer has to buy it.
Responsive buyers. Responsive. Can you hear me?
I hear you, yeah. But I'm just leading you to an answer a little bit.
Okay, sorry. I thought you didn't have driving.
They see the value above. Right?
Yeah, so that means that other time frame participants joined and they pushed the price because the price was advantageous to their perception of value.
Like bigger time frame participants thought that was a good deal on the.
Yeah, 100%. They came back, and in this case, they came in perfectly, right, to the PDPOC of this, or TPOC, right? They came in perfectly to it, and they said, oh, this is great. And they started buying. They rejected this value. And then let's assume this is one tick. What is this called then here?
Unfair high?
Poor high.
No.
Or
High. You have 2 TPO periods here. When you have a period next to each other, like this one, this is a really good poor high, okay? This is called a poor high. Okay, everybody following so far?
Yes.
Okay, so if this is poor high, is there another way to find a poor high, like where it's another setup? Like this is where 2 blocks match. That's definitely a poor high. Is there another one?
It'd just be one above the other one.
Yeah.
If it's one more, if G period had one more here and H stayed where it stayed, that would also be a poor high. Which one would be a better poor high to get fixed? This one or the other one? The other one meaning that there was another G period.
Is it that one?
that one.
That's correct. And why? I'm going to ask you why, so you guys better get used to it.
That because of participants.
So think about the market auction. This is where market auction comes into play. So you're telling me you went to this price twice and nobody was willing to bid a quarter more than 85? Nobody, and from however many participants we have in the market, nobody was willing to bid more?
Enough time wasn't spent at that price to validate whether the value from it was accepted or rejected.
That's
right.
That's true. That is very true. But it's also telling you that there's some exhausted buyers here. So what typically happens when you have exhausted buyers, and let's say, are we trending up or down? So here you have excess low, and you have this, I would say, call it P shape. That's not the cleanest P shape, right? A clean P shape wouldn't have spent a lot of time below, right? And if you look at this, that's definitely a poor high, right? But there's some exhaustion. So as soon as they come back here to a certain level, and POC was pretty good, when they come revisit this level, they will probably stop here or here, potentially buy and clean that poor high. And the fact that they bounced at the POC increases the odds that they're going to fix the poor high. You guys understand that? Because if they went lower, now they have to, go from, I would say 52 all the way to 85. So there's 80% chance, that they could do here, right? That they can explore this area. But going to the POC, the odds are a little bit higher because the range is also tighter. Does that make sense?
So when you say fix the poor high, then you mean it's going to go past. I mean, it's going to break the high, the poor high, and keep going. Then
That's correct, college. So that what we want to see is we want to see them finish the auction. And to finish the auction, you have to find access. You have to find the sellers. How do you find sellers? How does it become a selling tail, right? We covered a buying tail. So here's your selling tail. That means you went inside, right? It's kind of opposite, actually. If you think about what happened here the 2 days, it's actually totally opposite. So look at this. We came here to POC, we bounced higher. Then you have this POC here. And what do they do? Isn't it the opposite of what's happening here? They tried to find a set prices higher, they got rejected, right? They tried to set prices lower and they got rejected higher. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did I lose you?
Yeah, no. Makes sense.
you lost me, I think, in that analogy.
Okay. So let me explain. What I'm saying is that this profile and this profile had the same setup, just reverse, just opposite. If you pay attention to this day and this day, and then this day and this day, you'll see that, here you had they tried to get back inside the value and they rejected it higher. They closed at the highs. Here you had, right, they closed here, then they opened it and they rejected. They were not accepting this value, so they went lower. Kind of opposite of what's happening between these two. They wanted lower and they wanted higher prices here, but they got rejected in both. They got rejected lower, they got rejected higher here. That makes sense?
Yeah, that part makes sense, but the day up top, that's not a poor.
Oh, no, this is not a poor high, but on this tick that we are looking at, it would be a poor high. This is where you have one TPO period. That's what I was kind of drawing with the G here, or trying to illustrate it. Is this a poor high or excess?
That's just a
Poor high.
Right?
This is a poor high because it has only one here, right? You see only 1K is basically alone. Is this a poor high here, where you have right here?
That's excess, isn't it?
No,
More than TPO.
This is just a completed auction. I wouldn't even call it X. I just call this auctions completed. That doesn't indicate that, we're gonna sell off here. Does that make sense? Why?
Well, I think that answer is obviously no, but
Well, the
So you
answer
need-
is no, but we didn't find excess inventory. If we found the price was unfair high, you would have seen single prints at the top. This means that you found somebody that has a lot of inventory here to sell. And just a quick example, let's say you flip cars, right? And somebody comes to you and is like, man, I want to buy your Tesla 3 that you're selling. You're like, yep, 150 grand. And they're like, yep, I'll take it. Are you going to be like, never mind, I don't want to sell it now to you?
like sell it fast.
No, you want to sell it, you want to close the shop and go on a vacation for like 2-3 weeks. So they can't bring it back, right? So the idea is when the price goes above value, these guys, other time frame, they're looking to sell aggressively at those levels. And that's exactly what this, access high, unfair high, or selling tail is telling you here. And you didn't have it here. You just close with 2 TPOs. That just means a close is done. And typically a D-shaped profile here on the bottom and the top is just telling you we're balancing. And, we were balancing for 2 days there. This was the 45 level.
So you need more
That-
than 3 TPOs then to be
More than 2 TPOs, correct?
Okay.
More than
All right.
2. that becomes access on top or bottom. Like here, like on this day right here, is this a poor high or poor low? I'm sorry, I flipped it for you guys. Is this a poor low?
Yeah, it's just poor low, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is 100% poor low. This is a poor low. Then what is this one here? College.
That's a
Access.
buying tail.
That's a buying tail, right? So this would be your buying tail. Well, I'm leading you to a trap, so keep on.
So that J period would kind of indicate that we're gonna go up, but be careful.
That's correct. So this usually when you have this, right, and then you closed above this range, it's not, whenever you have a D shape, most likely you're gonna play within that area, and there's a high chance you're gonna explore that area. That's called a bracket, right? Bracketed markets typically go highs and lows and highs and lows, right? So that was access or buying tail, right? There's buying tail, access low, and unfair low. It's called unfair low. Why? Why is it also called unfair low?
Price is too cheap.
Price is too cheap. If something is too cheap, what are you guys gonna do? And you want it, you need it.
You snatch it up.
Buy it up.
What did
Black Friday.
people do? COVID, they bought all the toilet paper. Like I don't know why. I still don't know why you guys buy toilet paper when shit happens like that. But that's great. So you guys buy a bunch of toilet paper, and then you have a lot of toilet paper, and then you're like, oh shit. Like some stuff, some products, sure, it makes sense, right? Maybe eggs, some non-perishable items. If something was going to happen, yeah, it makes sense. But people buy sometimes aggressively, like people that bought. I had some friends that work in textile business, and he said he was debating on buying like trailers of masks from China, and he's like, man, glad I didn't. Right. So when the price comes to something that's super cheap and you can sell it again higher, they're gonna hop in with both hands and snatch it fast. That's why it's called time, price, opportunity, TPO. The price might, auction there, right? Advertise itself to this level here. But time-wise, how much time did we spend here? At these prices?
It happens quick.
Remember, this is the day when we fixed some of the poor structure we had on this day here. That we were targeting, it was 1375. I'm pretty sure it was 13, pissing me off that it's not 1375. It was 13. 1370, yeah. So they came in and fixed half of it, but they didn't fix the rest. And then, of course, on Thursday they fixed it, and then Friday they fixed pretty much all of it and then some. That's called fixing of the poor structure when you have in between, like when you're auctioning higher or lower, meaning you go from balance to imbalance. These are called, I would say, poor structures. And if you go up like we did on this day, Thursday, you go higher as a bull, what you don't want to see, you don't want to see them lose this 1375. Why is that?
Because they accumulated below that.
This is a separation of structure.
Separation of structure, and then when you think about from price standpoint, price advertised itself to this point at at 10:35 Thursday, and it got rejected, and then it went low, and then at 150, this was like, okay, we got buyers and we're going higher. So now you do not want to fall back inside of this because you said that you're aggressively looking higher. And if you can't hold this with this buyer here, they tried, but something happened where on Friday, right, there's a lot of selling, aggressive selling that came in, and they put in. So right now, I'm on 65 minutes. You have higher high, you have a lower high. Do we have a lower low between this and this?
Yes.
So we have a higher high here. You have a lower high, and here you have a lower low. What is lower highs plus lower lows?
Yep, it
Bring me
keeps going down.
Bearish trend.
Yeah, that's a bearish trend, right? So if that's happening, that means that most likely you don't want them to go spend time now above that lower low, which was this one. And guess what they did? Did they try to get back in? Yeah. Did they succeed? No. And then they continued, right, selling off and so on. Okay. So now, on TPO, any questions on poor highs and poor lows?
Shorty, can you explain when you change your tick sizings on your settings and you go back and forth? What's your thought process there?
So in the morning, like until the initial balance is set, I usually increase it to 3, right? Just so I can see it because the candles are starting. And sometimes I don't even turn it on the one that I'm trading. I keep a separate chart that basically just has this. This is all it has. No candles, nothing. I just see this. Right. So I know approximately on the lowest tick size where are the levels. But when I'm trading and we are starting off the day, if I put it on 1, it's not really visible and I have to zoom in and then I lose the focus. If I have to zoom in here, what can I see? I only see 1 day, right? So that's why I increase it to 3 in the beginning of the day, and then as we are, building values or let's say moving, I'll look at least 2 or 1, depending on how aggressive the market is, right? If you're not spending much time, we're not trying to build value anywhere, we're just having these single prints, then, I like to look at the single prints on 1. I mark those levels so I know where they stop exactly to a tick. I like to mark these levels on 1 tick, if that helps.
Okay, good deal. Thanks.
Okay. So poor highs, poor lows. Everybody understands them?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me give you one more scenario. Let me find it. Since we're doing it live, I don't know on top of my head where's the scenario. I'm looking for one that's really clean, but okay. Well, let's look at this one. What is this one here?
The B.
Spike.
What kind of high is it?
Excess high.
Anyone else?
I would say excess high too.
Okay, anyone else?
Spike.
It's a poor high. No, it's a poor high. This is M period. I
That's
told you
N. I
guys.
thought that was says M.
This is
Yeah,
N.
tricky.
I was leading you guys to it. I told you I was going to bring you to a trap. So this is N period. You do not care for, besides only one component of this is to mark this as a settle price. This is where the futures closed at 415. Okay. And why is it not? Is because where's your poor high?
The M and the N right below it.
It's the CMN, right? So if you guys look, right? So only period here that went above is M went above here. Right? And is that a spike or is that a poor high?
It's definitely
Poor
a poor.
high.
Definitely a
Both, isn't
spike.
it?
It's a spike. And how do you confirm spikes? The next day carries forward. So I can't call it a poor high until I find out what we do tomorrow. There's only 2 things that we do on spikes, and what is that?
Validated
Accept them.
the direction.
Yeah, we either accept them or we reject them. Okay. Well, let me find one that's a little bit wider than 1 tick, right? So I have to drop to about 2. I know we've had some here at the bottom. Where was the spike? The nice one that we had not too long ago. Let me find some. Something here smells funny. Okay. Found it. Okay, so there's a spike here on this profile. So we have selling tail. Let's just diagnose this one here. So this would be our selling tail, correct? So you have
Yeah.
selling tail here. We have unfair high, excess high. Just for this day here. And then on the bottom, you see how they auctioned, and then you see where period H low was, which had 2 TPOs until M period, right? So if you guys look, this was, this was the access low till M period, and then M period did what? So this would be your bear spike base, right? That's when M period goes below the lowest period for that day. Does that make sense? Your lowest period here was H, and then M period went below that. And you would, on the bear side, you mark the base wherever the previous period lowest point was, and you put the line there, and that would be your spike base bearish. And then on the end, this would be your, you can call it two things. You can call it spike end or PDL, right? Previous day low in this case. So then when you carry this forward, right, what is it that you want to see? There's two scenarios you want to see. And one is if we open, let's say we open above this level spike base right here, what is that telling you? That's telling you that you are rejecting the spike bears that happened in the last period, which is our M period. You're rejecting that because you had no periods for the remaining of the day to validate it, whether it's, in this case, is it a buying tail or is it really a selling that occurred? You can't tell that till next day, which would be your A, B period, right? But if you look now, right, here you have the A period and A period left. They opened way below it. So what were they saying?
Initially, they say they reject it, right?
Yep. So initially they said, let me see if I can find this day now. Not right here. Okay. So here's this day, and this will be the spike end right here. So initially they rejected it, correct? Right? They went below A, right? The B went halfway here, and then they bounced. Once they reclaim this, what does it tell you as a trader to do?
Probably be long.
I always tell you, do not fight that, right? And it's easy. It's an easy signal for you. It's called market generated information that something changed in the auction. Something shifted, and you should no longer be bearish if this level is reclaimed, right? So this is your spike base. So if you open, let's see, if you open below that, let's see, I'm gonna go open above first since I selected the wrong one. So if you do this, and let's say you'd use a spike end, you could certainly target the previous day high of the day as the first target most of the time. And you see that they had a pretty nice, run. This was a massive, I would say, uppercase P, right? And they ran it even higher. If they would have stayed here, let's say they came here, right? Let's say we come here to the spike end, and if this is actually to happen when you open below and you come to the spike, what should you do naturally here?
Short it.
You want to short it. You want to short it. Does that mean, oh, Shorty, you would have gotten killed in this? Yes, I would have gotten killed. I would have lost the trade. But you tell me, how am I supposed to play it? So if I look at this, let's say I took this short on the first instance and I give them until this value area low. If you can get inside this value area low here, should I stay short?
No.
So how much should I give you?
Right where you have it.
I give you a little bit, right? I give you a little bit. If you're able to crack inside, then I don't want to fight you. You win. And then I know that I need to do what as a trader? What's my bias now?
Go long on the retest.
Yeah, you want any retest, you want to go long. So your spike base can do two things, right? If you open above this spike right here on a bear spike, you want to go long. If you're below it, you're looking for short. Does that make sense, 12? Is anyone confused about spike? Because I know some of you guys get lost.
Sometimes you miss going long, right? If you're waiting for a retest on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, on this level, was there any long you guys could have taken until, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock? And that would have worked for a little bit and then it failed. And then they came back to a, I would say, pivotal level the next day, right? They came in, as you guys know. I really liked when we have stacked value areas and, you know, highs or whatever, stacking of the values, and look what they did. They came above this, and what are they telling you here in a simple concept that we talk about value? If this is my value here, right? What is market telling you in these 3 days? We were here, and then we had the spike. Then we at first accepted the spike. Once they reclaimed it, you have no reason to be short. There's a couple of reasons not. First of all, how wide is this value here? Is it
Tight.
most likely to be explored all the way?
Yes.
This is your highest chance to be explored. When you're thinking about 80% rules, when a value area is tight and they go below it and they regain it, that's your easy money, 80%. I would say it's probably more than 80% on that case. They will explore to the opposite side. And this one is so good right here because they didn't explore this value since yesterday before, right? They didn't explore it. They opened below it. So now if they get in, they're going to explore it all the way up. Okay. Everybody following so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So
It
here,
also happens the way, right?
say it again. Sorry, I didn't catch you.
It also happens like in the opposite way, like when it's on top.
Exactly.
I know we
That's
were
true.
talking.
Exactly. So now if this is my spike base, you know, if we open, you know, the way I gave you guys scenario is if you open above it on a bear spike, this is bullish. I would say extremely bullish here. Right. And if you open in between here, still bullish, right? It's just not extremely bullish. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would say this is your open within spike base. And then if you open below it, is what?
Bearish.
Oh, so D. Yeah, there you go. Both start with B, bullish and bearish. Right? Okay. So now, whenever you see a spike, when the M period creates new lows compared to the rest of the day, then you know how to play it. Is anyone confused on spikes?
That makes sense.
I always thought that when it's a bearish spike, like this one inside was semi-bearish.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. You're. Oh yes, I'm sorry. I wrote it the wrong way. I'm dyslexic. That's correct. I apologize. Yep. That's correct. I was flipping. Somebody said when it's opposite, and I was writing the opposite in my head. That's correct. This would be semi-bearish. This would be extremely bearish. And in terms of the language that you want to use, this would be, you know, if you open above here, that means you're rejecting the spike, rejecting the M period spike from day prior by auctioning higher than where the spike occurred. That makes sense? You're rejecting the prices lower. So in this case, this would be treated as, you know, the day after. Now that this day is over, this would be your access low. Does that make sense? You confirmed it.
Yeah, Shorty, when you're trading this, so let's say you've got these levels from the previous day, and it's 9:30. At what point would you take a trade? Are you waiting for
I
confirmation?
would have taken this trade here. I would have been short here.
Okay.
And I would have lost.
So regardless on the time, you're not looking at the time, you're looking at the price.
No, that's correct. I'm looking at the price. I'm looking at what are they advertising? And, you know, was there, at this time, was there more clues maybe from footprints? Maybe, right? if the delta here was growing largely negative and we're not putting in, let's say lower lows, then there's probably some absorption happening on the bottom, and that you can expect to see this.
Okay.
Right. There's other clues you can use to figure out, and I'm not saying that I would have taken this. I would have taken. So anytime you have a spike base, those become what was once support becomes your resistance, and you treat them that way, bullish or bearish. And I think we had a spike recently here on upside. Let me see. Thought we had one on this day. Yeah, that was here. I just want to give more letters right here. So here's your bullish spike, right? So where's the bullish spike start, which was the L period? You guys remember? Actually, I think we traded this. So this is your bullish spike base. Bullish spike base. And then the spike base end would be here. Is that correct? Or PDL? PDH, sorry. When you guys hear me do this, my brain is, I'm very dyslexic. So I call PDL at the highs, PD low at opposite. I'm confuse myself more. So this is a bullish spike base, right? So it's the opposite up here, right? So if we open above here, what does that mean?
Extremely bullish.
Okay. Here, Eric, I'll write it right this time. But I changed it just now. Okay. Yeah, so does everybody understand this? I just flipped it.
Yep.
Is there anyone
Yeah.
that's like, oh, what in the world are you talking about, Shorty? It's okay if you haven't. I don't mind finding a different way to explain it, but M period is just the last period in a day, and we need that in TPO profiles. The value is built by periods, right? So if you have 3 or more TPOs, you're creating value in that area. And you guys see, for the most part, we had 3 TPOs being built here. When you have single prints, that's division. And then, of course, if you have 5 TPOs, that's massive value being concentrated in that area, okay? So spike base, spikes, everybody's clear? So when I give you guys a quiz, nobody's going to fail.
Shorty, another question, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So let's say it's early morning pre-market. It's not a news morning. Do you look at the pre-market based on what you've drawn out with your spike bases and spikes?
No.
So it has nothing to do. Okay, gotcha.
No, the only thing I look at before open is this level here.
So it doesn't matter what Europe did and Asia.
I don't
Okay.
care.
Okay.
I personally, I just don't care about that. Price will tell you, value will confirm it. I'm sorry, volume will confirm it. The price will advertise, either be accepted or rejected. News are a vehicle to trick people. And the settle price, since we're talking about it, what can you conclude? What information can you conclude from settle price?
Whether net short or net long.
If OVN means just overnight, if overnight price action is above settle price, that means inventory is net long. If overnight price action is below the settle price, that means inventory is net short. So, and there's something that I taught you from this point that happens next. Who knows what that is regarding this?
Rebalance?
Yeah, there's usually a rebalance. So think about this. Market wants to go higher and everybody's net long. Do you think it's in, do you think the dealer wants to give you the money before they go higher?
No, they're gonna dip and then buy it cheaper.
Yeah, there's a high chance of market or inventory rebalance, right? Inventory rebalance happened when price auctions when auctions further away from settled price. Typically, you will see rebalance of inventory, and you can have this type of open auction drive. What is that? Which one do you guys think would be here? There's 4 types of those, right? If you see them like let's say we are above the settled price, right? Overnight, we are above it, like in this case, most likely we are above it, and then they do something, and then they continue in the way they were long. What kind of drive do you guys call that? What is that called?
I always forget these.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the open test drive?
Ah, that's it. You want to tell them what that would look like?
So it went up past the settle price, and then it went back down to test the settle price, and then continued back upwards.
Okay. So open test drive, what he said, it opens, it tests a key level, and then it proceeds to strongly in one direction. So in this case, right, what I was saying is that let's say we open above it. Now let's say we come to this, spike base right here, the bullish spike base. So it will look like something like this. We open, I don't know why it does this. I can't draw. And it comes back to this level. Imagine candles do this. And they come back to this level. It can set up an open test drive, right? What is an open rejection reverse?
Isn't it kind of like the opposite of what you just explained?
It is. So I'm just waiting to see who's following the logic. So if it's an open rejection reverse, let's see. How's this day? Let's look at it on smaller time frame on Friday. How's this? Is this open rejection reverse? Or what is this?
Well, it looks like it because the trend reversed.
Well, you don't care about the left day, but what is this? Is this open rejection reverse? It's a trick question, let me tell you.
Oh,
I think so.
It's just an open drive. And why is it an open drive? So let's just document the ones that we have, and then we can make sure you guys understand this, right? So open drive is the most confident one. Why?
Doesn't look back.
Does
keeps
not
going.
look back and keeps going in the same direction. Is that correct?
Yeah, which is kind of what it did.
And I'll ask a question here. Who do you guys think is in control in open drives? Think short-term traders?
Other time frame.
Okay, so here comes Shorty with his 2 contracts to go along here at the value area high, and they're conducting an open drive. There's a high chance that I'm going to get destroyed on that long. And they try to do that here. If you guys go in 1 minute, you will see it clearly. What is it that they try to do? I'll start rewarding you guys with money the more you speak. Okay. Knowing that this is, I'll give you a clue, that this was previous day value area high. What did they try to do here?
They tried to hold it, and then finally they rejected.
And they set up a nice little trap for us meaning people that rely on value, right? Because if they were able to successfully hold this, right, especially let's say they were not losing this level here, internal liquidity, let's say they were able to hold this, and they did, and then they went above it, and now they're above this value area high. What is typically in your mind as a trader of value? Maybe they're rejecting the value here and they want to go higher, right? guys agree? Or
Yeah.
yeah. And then the only problem is, when we covered all the stuff that we covered earlier, there was a lot of signs that, it was going to be a little bit more bearish, the day prior and whatnot. But now this is an open drive, right? They opened, they sold off basically every candle, and then they came here, and then they continued selling. I highlighted earlier a key level that they rejected. Does anyone remember what they rejected?
Is it like POC?
Yeah, they came in here and they rejected the POC. So it is an open test drive, right? But they came back, gave you a nice retest short here, and then they continue lower. So this is definitely an open drive. An open drive is associated with trend days. Okay. What's the one that's least, I would say, confident?
The open rejection reverse.
That one is, that one's bad, right? So what that one does, let me see if we have one here that's okay. Yep. What does this one look like here? What does this one look here?
Open, it went down, and then it went at a day
Well,
up.
then they made higher highs right here, right? So they went lower, right? Then they opened, reject, and reverse. Reverse means you make higher highs, or in the bearish case, that means that you go lower lows. So like, maybe this one here. You see how we opened here? We went higher. We probably rejected some value here in this area, or very close to it. I think it was maybe right here. This was your prior 3-day balance. I don't know if you guys remember it, but we tried multiple times, and look here. They went, they opened below it, they went higher, they lost it. And that would be your critical level. And what you call pivotal levels for these drives, I would say PDH, PDL, your halfback, weekly value area high, weekly high and low, weekly value area low. Those are the levels that you want to, use it as, it bounced off a PDPOC. Well, that's a pretty good point to bounce, because if you're finding buyers at the previous fair price, maybe, and especially if value area is very close to it, most likely you're going to bounce out of it and go higher, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So open drive, you can call it trend drive if it's easier. What is open auction? How confident is that one?
Is that like the D shape?
So you guys were at the same time.
It
Let's say you
stays
guys are.
in
Okay.
I was saying maybe the uppercase D shape, but I'm not sure.
So open auction means I go up,
no.
I go down, I go nowhere. It's auction is there, and who's in control?
Retail.
The short term.
Short terms are in control, and you can probably walk away and not trade that day. I mean, you've had some of those days lately, like these right here, the 2-day balance. Open, rejection, reverse, we just covered, right? So I would say the market opens, moves in one direction, but then reverses and puts in a lower low or a higher high based on that rejection. Does that make sense? Because you guys visualize that one? And I would say psychologically, how would you think about this if on open, rejection, reverse, if initial attempt is in trend fails, and then traders aggressively want to push the price in the opposite direction. So think about what we've done, I would say, recently here. Let's look to the left. So if you guys look here, this was a pretty good one here. I was going to delete everything. So you had that 2-day balance with the 45 level. If you guys remember, it was a pretty big level for us. And now take a look at this. You opened here. What would be your critical point that you want to use here? It's a trick question again. What would you use as that critical point to be, hey, open, reject, reverse? Because this is definitely open, reject, reverse. And I want to see who can explain it. And what was the key level that rejected?
The POC of the previous high day? No, the value or low of the.
So you have the TPOC here, right? If you use TPOC, if you mark them, you have that. And you also have, in this case, you had this, right? You had the value area low being built. So I would definitely mark, right? If I was to look at it, if the PDPOCs hit value area lows and they're rejected, those are critical points that you want to use to determine the auction type, right? So if you go here, look, they opened, they rejected, and what did they do? Well, they rejected and they completed. So they made lower lows instead of going higher highs, right? And going in a trend, the sentiment changed. Initial attempt was, a trend higher, and they reversed, and then they looked for buyers lower. Did I lose anyone on this?
Yes.
Who's lost?
Kinda.
Okay. So let me draw open, reject, reverse. So let's say this is a PDPOC here, right? And we are opening right here. And let's say we open right here within the value and we do something like this. This is 1 minute candles. We go here and then we do this. So you're opening, you come to a critical point, let's say PDPOC. And you reject, and then you put in your lows. Basically, you break the trend, and psychology here is that we're just trying to establish the trend higher, but you reject and then you reverse. So let me just write it up so you guys can see it maybe visually. So you're auctioning higher, right? Then you hit a pivotal level, which is our PDPOC, right? Right here. So you hit the PDPOC and then open, reject, and the reverse happens where?
The lowest low. Or where you open.
Yeah, so reverse by breaking the current low of the day. And if this is, let's say in our example, this is the low of the day. If that's the case, then this is open, reject, reverse. And these typically depends how long it takes. Can this take 5 minutes? Can this take 10 minutes? Yeah, as long as within the first 30 minutes you're getting a clue, open, reject, reverse can literally 90% of the time be a trend day down or trend day up, depending on what the scenario is. Or it could go into double distribution, right? Especially on volume profile. What if there's a lot of volume, being sold here? You go in higher, but they're selling every one of them, right? So I would say the swings are short, like I drew them here. Might have a lot of volume here, right? And they spend 30 minutes a period, and then a B period comes and
Block
slice.
this caller. Block this caller.
And then you lose this level, that would be the reversal. Psychology changed, right? The market sentiment drastically changed. You're putting in higher lows, higher highs, and then you hit a pivotal level, a key level, and then you reject and you put in a new low of the day. That's an open, reject, reverse. Does that make sense? And same is true, I would say, on the bullish side. Could
Shorty,
this be? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where would you enter a trade then, if you recognize this?
If this is a high probability, would be most likely that you're gonna momentum short it here, and then of course if you have space there, if the value area low, let's say, is here at that, it's not a level I would necessarily entertain for a short on a momentum break.
So you
It
wouldn't
would
go.
matter where are we in relationship to the left.
Okay.
If this is, let's say I give you here, this is let me give you a scenario. This is the prior week low. This is right here, let's say, is previous day value area low. Would I short this on the momentum here? No. No, because typically what they would do here, if this was the scenario, they would do this, right? And I would watch to see how much strength do they have to get back in. Or if they try to get back in, I rely on footprints to see is there any, ask coming in to sell it back again.
Okay.
I would say if there's nothing in the vicinity of this level, let's say this wasn't here, and I had, let's say, 10 points below for a PD value area low. Oh, this would be an easy short. I would take that. Yeah.
Would you wait for a retest?
No, sometimes I don't wait, but ideally you do, but you might not get it. Because
Yeah.
open reject reverse, the sentiment, think about the sentiment in the market. They were going higher, they're establishing the trend, and they failed. Most likely it's going to be a quick sell-off to look for prices lower. So these, I would say most of the time you're not going to get a I would say most of the time you're not going to get a clean retest. You might get a retest, but it won't be like, oh my God, they didn't hit it to a penny on the some level. It won't be that.
All right. And you wouldn't enter a short at PD POC.
It depends, right? I mean, it would depend. Do I take short trades off of PD POC? Yes. Would I size up on something like that? No, because you're much better off trading the extremes. If this was a reversion to the mean, right? If you saw that we struggled here, depending on, how the left looked, right? So let's say this was, where's my drawing thing? Let's say, to give you a scenario. Let's say this was up here, was a compressed P, like tight range P, right? And then there was another P that's compressed here, and that's where we are now. Let's say this is the P shape here. Would I take this now? And let's say the POC of this, it would never be on the top. Let's say it's here. And they rejected that right there. Would I take this? Yes. Because what do I have to lose?
The value
Well,
area high of that P.
it would be that,
Right.
or I could manage the trade above this POC, right? If I take it here on the momentum, then I manage the risk here. If I take it here, then I manage the risk on the top side here above the value area high. And let's just say we have no idea about access high or any of it, then I would put it above that, right? So either way, my risk will be approximately the same, and then depends on targets. Maybe my first target would be somewhere around here.
Now, when you see this with two lowercase p's on the left, you wouldn't have a bias to say it's going to a bullish bias since you see a lowercase p at the bottom.
It just means a short cover rally in this case.
Okay.
It means a weak one.
All right. So you're looking for confirmation. Okay, got it.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Is there a certain time frame you're looking at when playing that open reverse reject like that?
I usually look, if I would say the 15 minutes, if it's a confident auction up and then they reject and they put in a lower low, just think about, the auction and confidence, right? You're going strongly up, something like this, and then you hit this level and then you reject aggressively here, right? And then you crack through this. The market's giving you a lot more information here than, what if I compare the scenarios? If I give you same concept of this, where's this? Which one is more bearish? Sorry, I'm gonna move one of them. Which one is more bearish to you guys?
Second one to the right.
This one is more bearish. Why?
Took less time to get up there, and then it just swooped down.
Yeah, so you had a lot of aggressive buyers, and then all of a sudden, can those buyers hold the price? If they can't, that means that these sellers that came in here were freaking aggressive and they took all of these buyers in. Right here, I mean, you're just compressing higher and you're annoying all the shorts, right? All the weak shorts are getting killed here because you're going high and then they put a stop loss, then they buy to cover. Then you put a stop loss short, then they get stopped and then they buy, and then you get these little pumps. Here it was potentially buyers coming in aggressively buying, and then they're getting met by aggressive sellers, or let's say responsive sellers here, and they sold it and put in a lower low, right? So I would typically look at, you will know, but then I would say within first 30 minutes, you should be able to determine the auction type. Okay. Back to TPO. So far, I just want to make sure. Is anyone confused about the material we covered, right? So we covered, the TPO, of course, the periods, what they are, what they stand for. We covered the initial balance, that it's A plus B equals 1 hour. That's important because typically if the C breaks the balance, right, most likely you're going to have the extension in that, whatever is it, up or down, you're going to go that way. High odds that you will. But there's also something you have to pay attention to when you have that. When I say that, if you're trading within a value, right? And let's say here, there's the value here inside of this. Let's say this was a D shape and we extend the balance, right? The value area's initial balance is tight and we break that and extend it to here, still within the value. What are the chances you're going to have a trend day here? This day happened not too long ago and the initial balance was 7 points. Do you guys recall that? Come on, somebody, you do not remember this?
Yes, I remember that, and we did have a trend day after that.
So you had 7 points, right? We said that, I mentioned whenever this breaks, either way it goes, go with that direction. Because when you have an initial balance that's tight like this, most likely, right, you're going to have it tilt, and once it breaks, it's just going to continue going. But it also matters in what type of environment you are. So now take a look, where did we build this value or initial balance? Well, we built it within even less of a 2-day value here. So if I do this, your value here was, I don't know, maybe 13 points, not even less, 8.5. And your initial balance was inside of this one. Are you guys getting the point? Right. If it's a tight area like this and you're building an initial balance, right, you can definitely crack this and proceed. But if this initial balance is building inside of this one here, right, let's say this was the initial balance on this day here, like right here. If this is the initial balance, I mean, think about it. If I just copy this 3 times and stack them here, initial balance, a 3x would be right at the PD value area low, which would make it a trend day within the balance. So it's important to pay attention to the context. Where is it happening, right? Like this case, it was happening at the bottom. There's probably a lot of shorts that were piling in here. So if you think about this, this was the range that we were in for 2 days here. Now look, we peaked below it. Some call it spring. You're trading, you drop, and then you go higher, right? And they accumulated right inside the 2-day value here, which was pretty nice. And then, they proceeded to go higher. So it's important that, what you learn out of this, it's important to pay attention. Where are you accumulating the initial balance, whether it's narrow or wide, and how you open within that is fairly important within the value. Okay. So for tomorrow, if you're to diagnose, if you're to talk about market profile and what is it telling you for tomorrow, then you want to take a stab.
Well, I think we ended right in excess from a couple weeks ago, didn't we? Is that right
Okay.
about there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's in a buying range.
You guys remember these here, right? So you have some here. What about like on higher time frames? Would we take a look at this? Like let's go in 30 minutes for a moment. If you guys remember, we talked about this not too long ago. Like I gave you there's a high chance we're gonna do this dump here. But now if you think about it, this was the level where we were before. This was the prior all-time high. So if I go, let's go here, turn on, I think it's my monthly weekly. Okay. So here, is this a spot necessarily you want to short?
Probably not.
So let's just do this. Let's move. I'm just gonna merge these profiles here so you guys can see it. So I
Yeah, it
just
looks like
merged.
a perfect buying opportunity.
So if I wanted to sell here, probably not the best idea to sell here. So what could you see tomorrow on weekly time frame? So this was our high here, previous high that we had set 85, and this is our, I would say, value area low from January 17th. So I would say this is your probably monthly profile here. So if I was to turn on your monthly, and I have to change this one to monthly now. Okay, so what is market telling you on the monthly? We are out of balance right now, right? What level would you care to defend? We have the 85. What else is there?
That single print right there above it, right at around 6,000.
I'm talking about like this one here.
Yeah.
Yep. So I would make sure that I'm aware of this, which is right at 6,000. Did we tap? No. Okay. So this level would be fairly important, right? Because you only have a little bit of, here that's not access, right? So I'll definitely watch this. And then below this, what do you have? Your prior month low. In order for us to start framing down on the monthly, we have to lose 812. Do you guys think that's doable this week?
Yes.
Maybe not in a week, but in a few weeks.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's not doable. You're talking about 169 points in 5 days, right? So I would say on Friday, you had about what? You had 115 days. Points left.
Oh, I guess anything's possible.
Yeah, well over 50, I think, Friday. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
they could do it in a couple days if they really wanted to.
Yeah. So I think, what you want to pay attention to is now if you look at this, this was our value area high for this prior breakout, right? Right here, right? And then you have a couple of value area lows and you have a little bit of LVN here, which matches almost perfectly this single print on the monthlies, right? Or access lows that's being developed. So if you look at this, this is your monthly access low. So what you could see happened tomorrow, could there be any traps that they execute here tomorrow for the Bears?
Yep.
Maybe they can go and tap that and then reverse.
So what about like this area right here? Why would I care about this area?
They've held on to it for a while.
I mean, they're trying for 4 months. They're trying to build. Where's the value for 4 months here? Is it below or above?
Above.
Above.
So if they come here and do something like this, you do not necessarily, if they reclaim this, don't try to short this. Because that short cover rally would be pretty aggressive and the most likely, oops, sorry. I would say most likely could drive you all the way back to this POC at 6134. Does that make sense? So I'm just analyzing what's happening here, right? And then on the monthly here, when you guys look at this monthly profile, I think I'm on 9 ticks, but take a look. 11. Let's just go on 7 for a moment. You guys see anything on monthlies that's interesting?
POCs.
Yeah, I would say the POC is going to be around. If I was to draw the FVP here, it's going to be at the top, right, at that level. So this would be your 1, 2, 3, 4 month POC sitting here, correct? I would want to mark that. I would want to know about this level here, which should be what? What is this?
The SIG one.
Okay, so this would be your SIG1. Okay, and then your, I'm just going to copy this, save me some typing. Okay, so now you can see there's potential for traps quite a bit here. And then here is your what? I would make sure to have this level just noted so you guys are aware of it. What is this? Okay. So you have the January value area low. You have a lot of stuff here where, you know, the buyers could potentially show up. If they give you something like this tomorrow, right? Your risk here is not short. Your reward is not shorting here. It's to look for longs and you want to go drive it, right? You're still in the 4-month bracket. Do not assume that you're going to have initiative sellers show up here, because that's how you're going to get wrecked. You gotta wait to see what the market's doing. What's a critical level you want to see them kind of reclaim tomorrow?
The value low.
Okay. Any other ones?
They have to reclaim the POC, right?
We'll reclaim 6132. That'd be too far for tomorrow. Can I make any levels here that they need to reclaim based off of monthlies, or I need to go lower time frames?
Lower time frames.
Why not look at lower time frames? I would just mark this level here, which is, for now, it's Feb, Dev, value area low, and we only have 1 week left. It's at 57. And then if I turn this off for a second, I'm just going to turn on volume profile, which is the same concept in terms of values, right? We just want to look at this and on monthly and see if there's anything here that's telling us the value matches, right? And then you see that we had some POCs. I think this was December sitting in this area. This happens to be December value area high as well. So 57 value area high. Let me make sure I haven't given you the truth here. It's a little higher at that. Okay, yeah, for me it was way higher here. It was 63. Okay, that makes sense, right? That's good. So now when you look at these levels, you really don't have much to be excited about until you come here to the bottom on the monthlies. There's really open space here. So you buying something here in the middle is probably dangerous. Does that make sense? From monthly standpoint, you're in no man's land right now. You know, and for us to start framing down, we got to crack all the way here. Unless, let's say we close at the lows here on February, and then March starts, and then we crack this one, what do you see then happening? Because this would be the prior month low, right? It would be at 936, and you close here, what are the odds? I would say, pretty good chances if bears are putting it together that they can start framing down. Does that make sense? Right now, we have quite a points to go to start framing down on the monthly. We're still higher highs, slightly higher highs here, and still higher lows. So monthly, not much for us to trade, I would say on that. And now if I switch it to weekly, change it to 65 minutes. Is there anything here that you guys should do? Is the market telling you anything here? Are we in balance? Are we out of balance on weekly?
In balance.
In balance?
Yeah, still in balance.
For compared to last week, we're in balance.
It looks like out of balance.
Yeah, I would say we're most likely out of balance, right? Our balance is here. Value area highs here and lows here. We're outside of last week's balance. Relative to the whole market, we're still in balance, but compared to weeklies, right? We're in balance in the range, but on value area, we're definitely out of the balance. Here it goes. So this 2375, would this be an important level?
Definitely.
Okay, so let's say they lose this level tomorrow. What could you target?
That purple area.
First, I would say this 6,000 level is you're gonna get buyers there. You're gonna find somebody sitting there looking to buy. Okay. Does it make sense? Why?
Yeah, because that's the monthly excess low where the advantageous buyers came in.
Yeah. So I would say, if you lose this level, then it would make sense, right? And I wouldn't be shocked if they lose this and, visit these, 5-week sigma. There's a lot stacked here. You would need so much selling here in order to, send this. And you would need to see that on the volume bars on the bottom, where it really looks like, hey, you're not interested in this range. Until then, you got to treat this as a buying opportunity on the bottom for some calls and SPY.
Plus 6,000 is that big, nice even mental number that people might love to look at to go long.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that's a very good point. So far, this 2-week low, I would say this is probably our Friday low is a little bit higher here. But this 2-week low at 23.75 probably going to play a big role. Okay, and then what I like to do is I like to look at the TPOs, the stuff that we just went over. I'm just going to split these profiles. And we're going to change this bad boy to about 8. All right, so what is market telling you here on this TPO? Any level that, if they're to reclaim this level based on prior weeks, you'd be excited to go, be somewhat bullish.
February developing value area low.
That would be good, right? And then in terms of single prints, I would say, on the weekly, you do have some. If they can seek acceptance, let's say above this level here, if they find acceptance above this, you're starting the bullishness cycle, right? Because you're rejecting these values and most likely you're going to go higher, even though here you have a pretty good ledge with a poor high. This means this is a clear sign of exhaustion of buyers here. And they basically went, we can't find buyers here, but I just said maybe 25 minutes ago, we're going to go auction much lower to find them. And, they went much lower. They went to the, I would say, I think we had, I'm going to exclude this week here. Yeah. So I excluded this week and look at our first sig here. I was targeting 1975, if you guys remember, on Friday. They came in pretty close to it, right? But this is the level where I was like, man, we need to slow down and shorting. There's a high chance they can bounce this. Because this would be your 5-week sig 1 sitting here, which is very close to a 2-week low. So we got to monitor tomorrow. How do we open? Right out of the gate, if they, let's say at 9:30, they open here and then they slice through this. I think we see 6,000 and maybe even like 91 level would probably be doable. Okay. So that's our weekly, right? Let's see. Let's look at the daily. See what they're telling us. I'm just going to hide candles for now because we definitely don't need them. Yeah, I guess. Okay. So on the daily, I think we beat it to death now, right? They have some access, right? That's all the way up to here. I gotta change this to be 1. So I would mark these levels, right? So I would mark that this is pretty massive access, I would say here, and which matches the POC, right? So this is, I have it saved. Unfair high, and this goes, I mean, the B period's pretty nasty. So here, if they can, from price, if they can reclaim this and this value area low, that becomes a pretty decent, like, oh crap. Then I would think most likely we're gonna go and fix any poor highs that we had, or at least go to 132, which is about 27 points to the upside. Okay, so this is big, single prints here. If we open anywhere below this, right, and you guys see the value area on this is pretty nasty now, so I'll probably enable single prints and see what are they telling. I'm not single prints, I'm sorry, SVP, and see what are they telling me. And it's slightly, I would say, different story. Would you guys agree? So the POC is all the way on the bottom, right? They're accumulating on the bottom on volume, and it looks like a couple of distributions, right? So you have 1, two, almost, I would say 3 distributions here. So if they reject, let's say above this 50 level, if they go above this, which is your, in this case, almost like a node here, it's 45, 75-ish, what would you expect to see?
Would you do that on ETH or RTH?
On RTH, yeah.
Okay.
Say that again, Shorty. You said if it above 45?
Yeah, if they reclaim the 645, well, how would you play this?
It should
645.
be
Right here.
it should be a rip higher because you've got poor structure above, right?
Exactly. Most likely you're gonna visit the 69. And I don't put these levels on my chart just because I see them, guys. You can definitely add them. If they are able to accept price here, reject this, most likely you hit 69. And then if they do that, let's say they're like, oh man, this price is still cheap, then I would say most likely you're targeting somewhere around this area here. It should be here. Does that make sense? Or did I lose anyone? Pretty straightforward stuff. And that's how I determine the levels. You regain this, this is your next one, and so on. And your POC is sitting around 34, right? So it's definitely a trend day down with the POC. When you have trend days, especially on Fridays, when you have these trend days, you want to make sure that that low is taken out. And why is that?
All buyers are trapped.
Yeah, I mean, here people, if people are buying here and they quickly take this out, it should be your, I would say, PDL here. Like, let's just put it right here for a moment. Gotta delete this. There, let's put this as 2-week low plus PDL. So this is our Friday low, and we just come out and take this level out. Well, then you know, right? The bears are in business and they really want to send this lower. If they come here and quickly reclaim it, I'll just be watching out on the short, right? Because that could be a really nice bear trap here. So tomorrow's opens, I would say probably very, very important how and where we are in relationship to this day. If we are closing above it and we don't lose it, that can trigger a massive short squeeze, and then you have a lot of poor structure as we identified here to fix. If they open and they crack it, most likely we're going 6,985, and then I would say this zone is going to be pretty nasty to trade, right? This 974 to 955. I would say that's going to be pretty disgusting here. Okay. And now when we look at a little bit more here, let me just hide this for a moment. Hide this guy. To me, it looked like a pretty good liquidation. Now, if we do get the sell-off below these levels, then, I would say we're most likely going to go to this 955. There are some levels that you want to, identify in this range. You have about 66.5, that 2-day value area low here that you have right here, the 2-day balance. So if they are not able to break this balance, and if you think about this, what they've done so far, it was a 2-day balance, we went higher, and now they came back, they dipped below it. Another time frame folks showed up and they sent it higher, put in higher highs, cleaned up liquidity. So I wouldn't be shocked if they clean up this liquidity as well. I would not be surprised if they're to do that. Okay. And one thing that I do, that I check a lot for, is I check on a higher time frame, where are we in relationship, in the yearly profiles. So if I just hide the drawings so you guys are not confused, what is the other time frame, like really, really other time frame profile telling you here?
Bullish.
Is this bullish?
Oh, been imbalanced for a while, but in a bullish trend, right?
Yeah, it's in a bullish trend, but is this a bullish setup right now?
No.
Negative.
Negative. Most likely, the target for this rundown would be this level right here. And why is that?
We're back in that value.
Where they found some
Right,
buyers.
that's the
for poor.
POC.
Okay. Well, let's look at this for a second. Let it refresh. I thought I changed it to months. So let's see. So this is my yearly profile right now. This is my 2025. We peaked above twice, no buyers, right? And now if you think about it, this 6,000 that somebody I think said, oh, that round number is going to be pretty important, right? Because there's access and it's your yearly value area low for 2 months. So I would definitely watch how do we behave here. We went below here, so far twice, and then you have these buyers come in. Basically, the way I would play this out, do you guys remember when I drew this trend line and I gave you a scenario that most likely this bull flag can break, sweep this? I think it was a Sunday. To sweep this, and then you want to look for this. I even said you want to look for that POC to lose. You don't want to short in between here because they can trap you. Once they lose that POC, then it's a massive potentially sell-off, right? I don't know if you guys recall, but you can watch. I think it was last Sunday that I explained this to you guys. So now, you're targeting the 6,000 and you want to see how do they behave. Once we dip below this value year to date, are they defending it or not? If they lose this and regain, and there's a lot of levels here. I would not necessarily short this here. Okay. In terms of larger balance, this is a massive balance inside of a balance, right? So here, if they lose that level, what do you expect?
All the way down to the bottom of the box you drew.
Yeah, it would be all the way to the box, and then you see this is your quarterly, right? I just switched to quarterly profile. Here's your Q4 right here, sitting at 975. This one is inside. If they lose that, then most likely they're headed to this 5881, and then you have 584, and then all the way down to about 57. And eventually, I would say that, this is the level they're going to go for. This is the level they're interested in fixing. Like coming back, go to this value area low of 5737 and see if we find some buyers in that area. This was our balance here. If you guys remember, we have a nice balance range here. And then, value area low here. And look how weird the price action was here in this quarter. You reject the POC, you go way down, right? You come back, you get rejected, and then you basically explore this area twice, go higher, come back to this POC or top zone, top distribution, and you went higher twice off of this. And now you rejected it twice in this massive range as well. So losing this cluster here, this purple cluster here, most likely leads to the bottom here to sweep the liquidity at 5,800. And at that point, I would look to close my SPY puts. If I see the March SPY puts that we have or whoever has, if I see that they're not getting traction here and they're buying, I'm closing them. Does that make sense?
Shorty, do you have any tricks to know if it's just longs getting out of the market or if it's new, hedge funds or whatever getting short? Because that changes the thrust, right?
Of course, yeah. So in this case, all I know is that we have no new buyers up top. Right? There was no new buyers on the monthly profile at the top.
Yep.
There was an exhaustion of buyers. And if there's an exhaustion of buyers, the market auction says, if I can't sell it to you at the top, I have to offload my inventory and buy it lower. Right? So now if the guys are selling, and if these guys want to buy the inventory lower, I'm going to see this is the, I would say, key zone for the rest of the year. If they're able to crack this, this opens up the doors for a pretty bad 2025. So for me, right now, there's lack of net new buyers in the market.
Yeah, but not necessarily people piling in on shorts, right?
The people are going to pile in a short, and then I would watch to see what level can they regain, right? Once we finish this week, or let's say if they regain this 624 level, let's say we go here and they regain it, I wouldn't mess around with shorts too much.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Because then, we're just in a massive balance, and I wouldn't treat it anything different. So if you think about this, on higher time frame, people get excited about, I wanna short it, I wanna be the first one, I wanna catch the top. Your job is not to do any of those things, but let's see here. I mean, look what is market. I'm on 3 days. I'm just gonna go, let's say, to this level right here, because there's a couple of taps here. Until we are able to sell this, right? I'm not interested necessarily adding to the shorts here.
Yeah, I'm just
And here's
wondering when do we see signs of what we always talk about in terms of bank balance sheets and all the shit hitting the fan and all that, right? Because I mean, what we just saw is could easily be a couple big guys just exiting longs and that's it, right? Nobody
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out if, remember, the perception of value, if these guys that bought it here last time and they're probably selling up here, are they willing to buy it here, or they think they can get the value cheaper? Right now, they've been trading in this, since October.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I can do with certainty is to see where's your volume on all of this, right? And it seems like, this level 5984, which was 5980 for us, I believe, just moments ago, 5880. And this one is at 5984. So here, 4 months SIG1 matches this here, which is good. And then the range, if you lose this, most likely you're going to tap this.
Yeah.
We'll watch this and see, right? As of right now, you can't make a distinction because you're in a bracket. It's sell high, buy low. And if they execute that again, I would anticipate that they make a higher low in this case if they want to rip higher. If they put in a new low here, that can be a really problem for them. It could cause some panic. So they should not go below this level, like from higher time frames. They should hold this here. Because this was a spring at one point. Now it'll be very, very important to see what they do.
Got it. Thanks.
And we haven't moved yet. I mean, if you think about this, here's your weekly range. Do you think this is enough for a sell-off? Not much, guys. This is, weekly candle, and it's not that big. Look at the bullish candles here that you had. Look at this range that you had. 5786 all the way to 5105. And that would be kind of like the master candle, because this candle, we never traded below this candle, did we?
Yeah, that's the boss candle.
Your boss weekly candle here. So
Yep.
they crack this. I would say, is there a chance we visit the low of these? Yeah. But as of right now, last week, look at the volume. It's above average, but you're not selling yet. Then you look at the daily, and that daily looks pretty good. Right? So it's leaning more bearish, like we're gonna go lower, right? But there are certain levels that they're gonna try to defend here. And I would anticipate us to go lower. My sentiment is that we dip lower, and then we would look to see this 5955. It should be somewhere around here on the bottom, somewhere around this area, right? They could potentially look for a bounce, because if you look at the 50%, right, of this range, probably somewhere around there, 5981. So if they're able to hold this, we're probably gonna build a value in the top distribution here. It should be somewhere around here. So if they can do that, that's great. If not, then we're going, separated into two values. I would just treat it like this. Are you trading purple, or are you trading whatever color we pick? Orange. And this is, remember, daily candles. You could go whatever you want. Do you see it now? So you have key level, I would say, and then the bottom here as well. Just a massive bracket. Nothing else to it. A lot of people are getting excited, and I'm surprised nobody's seeing inverse head and shoulders just yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Oh, it's coming. Yeah. Okay. So for me, the most critical thing tomorrow is what do we do with the 2-week low, Friday low? Like, since you had this liquidation, do you continue? Or do we slow down and then you could cause a really painful short cover rally here? Ideally, we crack and we come to the SIG1. And, you know, we maybe if we go below it a little bit, reclaim it, then we buy some calls, right? Options on a SPY or whatever you trade. The only other bearish thing that I see if I look at, for instance, Apple, and these guys, they're also at very critical levels for sell-off. Here's your Apple, right? On quarterlies, and look at Apple here. What does this mean for Apple? I mean, they tried, they shifted the value higher. They went all the way, if you guys remember, 260s here. And then they sold off. They went to the bottom of this quarterly value area low 219. We closed the shorts there. And then I think we got the calls at some point here, 220s for 250, and they went back to 250. Now, if they lose this, you know, you can target. This is 240, and then ultimately you're targeting about 230 here on Apple, so about $15. Losing this 245, I would say there's a high chance you're gonna see this. And if Apple is doing this, right? If Amazon's already down, I guess. And Amazon is coming up to a critical level, like a quarterly retest here at 210, and then ultimately a quarterly VPOC would be I would say for Amazon, if you're somewhat bullish, if you want to own the stock, that if this retest happens here, I would not necessarily short this. This would be a really good opportunity for some falls on Apple here on Amazon. Then Meta, we're still short. We're looking to see what would you guys close this? Where would you guys close this? You're gonna get your bounce somewhere around here first, 675, which is probably gonna happen if markets align. This happens this week by Tuesday. If they fail this, guys, it can go, right? And we're in a 650 puts. They can hit this level fairly quickly at 640 here. And how do I know? Well, if I just grab this and I go all the way to the top, pay attention to the structure here. A lot of volume here. We're below this massive node. Then you have this buildup, right, on value, which is, I think, 67. All the way here, you lose that. You don't really have much stopping them between these two levels. Well, if they fail to defend this, so 667, 640 happens rather quickly. This will be a quick fill. A lot of these are all on the top. I mean, Snow is also trading here. They lost a key level that they needed to close above. And I'm in one call for 220s, just FYI. I just grabbed one. I'm looking to see if they can catch a run up, right? And the only reason I did that is if you guys look, you have some support coming in here. If they give me this, I'll probably add one more and see if I can drive this towards the earnings, right? I think their earnings are either this week or next week. I don't know, one of the two. And I was gonna swing one lot of Snow call for fun. Last earnings, if you guys remember, we had shares, so like 110ish, somewhere around here, and they had this massive earnings gap, right? So all the way up to 153, and then we bought calls here for, I believe, 200, and they almost came into the money. We got rid of it, and now I'm back. Maybe they'll probably visit this, and I'll be looking to get some calls in this orange area here. And you guys see the value shifted so far pretty nicely on quarterlies, right? They're consolidating, but the value is shifting higher. They're rejecting this on the quarterly. They're saying the value is in this top one now. So that's why I got the calls. And then Tesla. Was anyone short Tesla 245s in me, or you guys closed it? They went for 600%. I sold them when they hit 240. No, I'm sorry, 340. When they hit here somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around here. It was pretty $5 in the money. We closed it, but man, they exploded shortly after that. So for Tesla, it's really about the 351 level. And as I explained, if they can go above this level, then they most likely go in 267. And I would say they're going to have 250s. And then this is going to be the level I will buy shares for Tesla, is here. So what I'm trying to tell you, is there more opportunity for buying on these big boys or selling?
Selling.
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunity for them to sell and get cheaper prices. And for me, I'm looking to see if I can get 220, that would be, anywhere here. If they give me this area here, this should be fantastic from them. And I'd buy shares of Tesla here. Okay. All right, guys. My mouth's tired. I've been talking for about 3 hours now. We will stop here, and we'll write up a little bit for this week coming up on how we're going to trade. If you have questions, shoot me a message. I think we have a pretty good community of folks that understand this stuff, and a lot of good profitable traders that are probably more willing to help you than you might estimate, right? So reach out, ask questions in main chat. Nobody's going to make fun of you. I'm going to pick on a few people, and just fresh off the main chat. When Seth joined, he didn't have a clue what the hell he was talking about. He was the most emotional person I ever met in terms of trading. He's buckled down a little bit. And did you get the job set?
No, sadly, no.
That's okay. We'll get a next one. Give yourself time, give yourself opportunity. Don't beat yourself up on things that you can't control, right? And a lot of you guys are eager to make money, but you're not patient to learn. So I would say slow down, right? Don't rush this process, right? You might want to, right? Because you see others, but you're not competing with others. You're really competing with yourself to make this work. So slow down. If anything, play the extremes, play the value area highs, the lows, and see how the market behaves. A lot of you guys are somehow always itching for a trade. I feel like a lot of you just have a trigger sitting there and sell, buy, sell, without really reading what the market might be telling you. One guy, told me you can only win when your mind is stronger than your emotions. And until you guys get that straight, you're not going to be successful in this game of trading. Because when emotions take over, you guys do stupid shit with trading. So I would avoid that as much as possible. All right, guys. I'll be live tomorrow.
Thanks, Shorty.
See if you can make some money.
Thank you, Shorty.
What's up? Say it again. To bank? I'm sorry. Oh, let me just look at this. None. There's nothing bullish here right now about banks. So look at this. Just you tell me. This is about to collapse. XLF is going, it's going to take a beating here shortly. And a little birdie told me that there's some insider selling in the banks happening right now. So, JPM looks very promising for a short. JPM is going to 222 by May.
Can you look at AXP? I think it's going to 275.
Oh yeah, man, I had this, man. I don't even want to tell you guys. Maybe some of you were not even around on this earth. But this if you can get this cheap for ever, like if you can get this cheap, it's pretty good stock to hold in your long-term portfolio. Their dividends is good, their cash is great. They have a lot of cash on their books. So AXP looks good, but not necessarily for long here. I would not touch this with any long stick here. Let me look at the.
You think 275 is a good? I was doing some fixed volume. I mean, what's called a fixed range.
profiles, and I think total I wound up getting 275 as a demand zone.
Yeah, so it's gonna be right in that range. You're gonna be right in that range. So somewhere around here. Let's see what that comes out. So 272, 268, I think you're right on. They'll be there, but they're gonna go lower on this, I would think. This is a pretty parabolic move off of this balance, right? So what you would most likely see here happen is what? On a higher time frame, this is going to where?
200.
200. This is going 200 and probably this year. If they crack this right here, which would be 263, right? If they go below the zone that you're looking, your reward is not to buy here. Personally, I would not. I mean, just let's remove everything off the chart. And then let's say your significant other tells you that you want to buy this chart. She wants to buy the stock right here at the black line. What do you say? You want to buy it here?
No.
You do not want to buy here.
Sure, isn't it just smart to like sell puts at 200 and maybe if it gets filled or it doesn't, if you have the money?
Yeah,
Rather than
exactly.
just
I mean, if you have shares, right, you can, like, at the best thing that, most likely happened here, what do you do at the top here in terms of options? What's the best thing they probably did?
covered calls or
You
sell
have
calls.
shares? Yeah, you sell calls. You sell covered calls here, right? And then as you approach here, sorry, if you come here, you're starting to close that and you buy them, right? You buy to close, and then maybe they do this, right? But if they fail here, right, then you have 128. But there's a couple of banks that don't look very good. Like this is, I would say, Citi is one of them. Let me see. What is this? Here's Citi. They've been in this balance. I don't know how long. And I would definitely not buy something that did this right now. And Drew, you asked me what would I do, but this is a perfect one to short. Citi looks just. This is this is perfect short here. So I actually might look at Citi puts.
Citi was
looks.
wow. It was a $600 stock once. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of toxic debt. And look at Bank of America. Bank of America has probably we can check with Tom to get some updated HTM portfolio numbers, but they're leading the charge on unrealized losses right now in their bond portfolio. So they have long ways to go. This is not the best setup for long here. This is also a good short. I would say probably $20, 15. Buy December 20 puts. I don't know how much they are. I'll tell you in a second because I'm gonna add them to my queue. Yeah, the financial sector doesn't look too juicy for long right now. Let me look up. I'm just trying to find BAC. December puts for Bank of America are $41. And 25, wow. I mean, they have a lot of interest here on some of these. There's quite a bit of interest here on these. Pretty crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. I went to January. The latest one for this year that they have is September. And for September, $20 puts are $11. And they have some interest on it. If you're gonna play this year, you play September, and $30 puts look pretty juicy here right now. Because this is gonna go lower. When you have some sectors that look also similar, XLU is
You said Bank of America $30 puts
for like September. They're cheap.
September. All right, thank you. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Yeah. But XLF, XLT, that they don't look very. XLU looks the best from all of these. Let's see the. Yeah, it's just parabolic. I had some of this here on shares. Okay. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you guys had a good session. I didn't want to focus on the PowerPoint. I wanted to give you guys explanations on charts live so you guys see it. If you guys want to add something to it, just kind of message me and let me know what you think, what you want to change, or what do you want me to focus on. And we can go from there. We can make sure that we cover it next class. Baba is going to, Baba's going here. Yeah, Baba's going to 152. I would not go long here. I think Baba long was around the bottom right here. This was your, yeah, we were long here. This is not a spot to be long on Baba. JD looks a little bit promising, but also not the best spot to go long here. You want to get a little bit better retest on this. If you look at all-time high, you would be buying at that. So think about this. You would be buying JD above all-time value area high. Yeah, this is, if they fail right here, let's say they fail to hold 40, this is a good short all the way to 26. And I don't know how, I don't short Chinese stocks mainly with options. I did play Baba before, but you know, you have to be careful with that. Okay.
How about Baidu?
I'm sorry?
Baidu, BIDU.
BIDU. Is that Chinese as well?
Yeah, it's Google's Chinese brother.
Wow. Why is this one so high up there?
It's the same with the Baba AI. They also said they want to use the Chinese AI that deep whatever came out. So it went up. But it's been struggling for a while.
I mean, it's at a pretty pivotal. It's this is like 69 is a pretty pivotal level for the stock. You said they're the Google of China?
Yeah, they pretty much, when China kicked out Google, they became the big honchos. They're the search engine provider.
Yeah, so just look at this. It's kind of interesting. I don't see anything from buying just yet. To me, this looks like a buyer's climax here. They're exhausted. Volume profile is going to be a double distro. Oh my God, yeah, no. Yeah, let's see them lose this 54. I think you could enjoy this drive way lower.
Yeah.
In terms of short term, this is not a bad buy to buy it. You could probably catch some moves here with the AI or any announcements of news. I think you can do that, but I just don't like to play Chinese that much, man, just because their gap rules and probably know they don't follow some principles that we expect from other companies. So
yeah, that's true.
I just don't trust them. I know one of my friends that lost basically all of his net worth in what was it called? Lucky Coffee or something like that. I think.
Oh yeah, that was very tasteful coffee. Everybody got burned.
Okay, this one. It's OTC now. Holy moly! Wow, they went to $1 and it's back to. Oh my God, is this real? Let me make sure this is real chart. Oh God, does this have options? I was short this.
I thought they went bankrupt. How did they go up so high?
They're on OTC now. They're on the pink sheets. I don't know. They're on the pink sheets, but holy moly, they're up there. I know that he lost basically almost everything that he ever had. You know, he was very bullish at some point here somewhere. Definitely not the spot to mess with. Yeah, I just don't like Chinese that much. The Baba is the only one that I like to play from all of them. I know there's a car maker. This one. Neo, right? So this one here, there's some tired sellers right here. So this probably, if you want a nimble on shares, this would be the level that you're buying shares on this thing.
Yeah, but I don't like their business model for Neo.
What is their business model?
They basically it started out with the changing of battery. If instead of waiting for the charger, so they wanted to differentiate between Tesla and them. But think about it: if you have a brand new
Well,
battery and a brand new car, why would you get a used battery?
Hold on, they swap your battery to charge you?
Yeah, that was the idea
Well, that's
or the
pretty
plan. I don't know how. Yeah, it is pretty extreme.
I mean, it's like you get a new phone and it dies, and you go to Apple, they give you a refurbished phone.
Yep, exactly. That's what it is.
Say it again. You're sounding pretty bad. Mhm.
I still think Lee Motors and the one Buffett was another one I can remember is much better position as far as the quality of the vehicle from
Yeah. But man, their financials look pretty. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Yeah, this looks pretty good, but yeah, they need to become profitable first. But not to say they can't put some money in this. Might not be bad. I don't know if they have options on this thing. Like if they're optionable, but it might not be bad to buy some $7. Let me see if they have it, like $7-10 calls for like December. I'll probably buy it, throw in a couple $100 for fun and see what they do.
Shorty,
Is this?
if you have a few more minutes, can you look at Meta as well?
Yeah. Meta is at it's right here. So
Shorty, one more question. Do you use footprints on like stocks? Like, cause TradingView has like the thing where you could see like the footprints, and would you use stacking balances on like individual stocks, not futures, just itself?
yeah, you can. You certainly can, but the TradingView does not have the data. They don't have the package to do that.
They actually do, cause I have it on TradingView now, and you can see the imbalances.
Yeah, but it's not right. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, they don't have they don't have correct orders, right? Those are batched orders that they get. There's a service that they need to sign up for, but it's super expensive. And if they don't get that, you don't get the live footprints, right? Only a handful of these don't have it. But what they do, they aggregate the price basically from different exchanges, right? And they don't have a full depth DOM, right? So they can't really do that. So what you're getting is approximate footprints, and I don't know if I would rely on those. But that's just me. I mean, doesn't mean.
Got it. Because I have a Mac and I don't have a PC, and it's hard to use what's it called, the footprint chart you use. I forgot what's it called, but I need to switch over to a PC.
I think Ninja Trader would work.
I try to use it, but I don't have the imbalances. Like I can't see it, or there's not a feature where it does it for you.
No, there is. I can help you set it up. I think we can send you a script or at least code that does that.
All right, thank you.
I think I have it. I can forward it to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Meta. So let me just show you Meta real quick. And I guess you're asking because you're short.
Yes, and can you like explain how'd you get to 572 as a target? Because I was using fixed volume range and I just couldn't figure it out. Like it wasn't
Okay.
there.
572. I don't know if I had set 572, but I think it was more around 672.
672.
Yeah, I wouldn't target it that low. I mean, it can't go that low. It's probably going somewhere around here, but not for these that I have. There you go, right here. So what I did is I grabbed it from the lows, swing low right here to the swing high, and I'm looking to see where's the value being built on that run. And that stops somewhere right at 674, 672-ish, if you want to call that. It'd be this node here. Most likely they're gonna slow down there, and then if they decide to accelerate, initiative sellers come in 658. But this is a pretty good spot to trim on Meta here. We're most likely gonna hit that, and if they decide to bounce this week, I would say most likely we don't want them to reclaim and close above 686. And this is
Thank you, Shorty.
this is your monthly profile, and if you go on weekly, it might give you a little bit better picture if you will. So here's your weeklies, right? So if you look, you see how this value area didn't look right. Something was off. It was fairly tight. They peaked above it, of course, and then they destroyed it, right? And I think we got into shorts. Remember, I don't know, 713. Does that ring a bell to you? Does anyone remember 713 level on Meta when I said if they lose that, probably gonna sell off pretty aggressively? Okay, and now here's your level, sir. Is this the level you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's your, this is your weekly Virgin POC. Not wiring, but Virgin, sorry. So what that means is that from here, the price accelerated aggressively. We never came back for a revisit, right? And most likely we're gonna come here. It's gonna be a bounce here. Is it gonna be a prominent bounce? Probably not until we reach on weekly levels this area here. This is the level where they're gonna bounce. I would anticipate that and here. And I'm not a big fan of Meta for shares, so I won't touch it with shares, but I like to short it. I should have sold calls at the top, but I was stupid. Like at least here, should have been selling some heavy calls. That's what I did on Apple when it was at 260. I was selling a lot of calls here and then looking for this 220. Selling calls, buying puts. Okay, that makes sense. This would be a pretty big level for it. And I think NVIDIA has ER coming up.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Okay, NVIDIA is going to 128 this week. It's gonna be a bounce right here in this area. Do you guys remember when I mentioned this is probably a good spot for NVIDIA puts? I don't know if anyone grabbed them. Maybe you guys did. Now they're gonna accelerate. So losing 133, 130. This is a pretty big level that they're going towards right now. They better have stellar earnings. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you're long shares or whatnot, they better have amazing earnings. I think they started liquidating this. Yeah, I would not be surprised if we go back here. At least with earnings, this would be my target on any bad earnings right here. 118, 117. Most likely that's what they were going to hit. We'll see how crazy options are. How hard is the IV on it? Maybe play some crazy lottos on it. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you guys had a good session. If you have questions, please send them over. I'm going to open up a little Google sheet for you guys to schedule the one-on-ones. I've had quite a bit of one-on-ones with you guys. And you guys, if you don't know, I offer you guys free one-on-ones with me. If I see that you're not doing the stuff I ask you, or you're not really committed to it, then I'll eventually tell you that I'm not gonna do it with you, and I'll ignore it. And that's probably a good sign for you to look elsewhere for somebody else to teach you. But if you show commitment, I will do my best to help you. And a lot of you guys, I have people that I've been working with them now for 6-7 months, one-on-ones, notes, comparison charts, feedbacks. I will put time if you put time, and if you show that you're not, then I just walk away. So you guys have that. It's free. I don't charge you for any one-on-ones. I'll give you the knowledge, but it's just around my kids and my wife and the time. So I can't spend 20 hours on the weekend doing one-on-ones. I usually pick 2, 3. The max I did is 6 because my kids were in Switzerland and wife, so I had some time to myself and you guys, so I gave it to you guys. So you're welcome to reach out, and then we can find a schedule, but I'll be posting a link probably tomorrow where you guys can book yourself. Hey, I want to meet, and you'll have available time so we can meet. It's usually 2 hours for all of you that haven't done it.
Some guy named Drew was trying to charge me $1,000 for it.
Alrighty. See you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, Shorty.
Bye-bye.
2 hours, huh?